Okay, so this is my second time making this video, my honest reaction and the ins and outs of Joe Dispenza's week-long advanced retreat. I did my first video after I went to my week-long in Mexico, which was my first one. That was back in December. Right now it is May of 2023, and I did Joe Dispenza's week-long in Nashville at the end of April, so it's almost been a month since I've been out. That last video didn't have as good of audio, so I want to talk about questions commonly asked in that past video and give you some little idea what to expect when you're doing Joe Dispenza's week-long advanced retreat. I know a lot of people are really interested in doing it, so let me break it down and maybe give you some help when it comes to making the decision. Because obviously it's a costly decision. It's not cheap. Each of my last advanced retreats are about the same price, like $2,800 or so, plus you pay for room and board. When you're in Mexico, you're in an all-inclusive resort, so you don't have to pay for any food. The Nashville one, they had breakfast and lunch covered. You paid for your own dinner. And the food in Mexico, in my opinion, was definitely better. It was a bigger facility, huge cafeteria. The dinners were really good in Mexico. And in Nashville, the facility, they cater for everyone, but I'd probably give the food like a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. It's not amazing. And then you do your own dinner. We'd go like food trucks, or you could take an Uber out to a restaurant, but you're tired, so you usually just want to stay on the grounds of the convention center. And that's definitely something to consider. I mean, people, they're not going to these conferences for the food. You're in it for the meditations, you're in it for the learning, you're in it to surround yourself with thousands of other incredibly high-level individuals from all sorts of countries, all walks of life. My one in Nashville was 2,200 people from 55 different countries. I know the ones in Europe, the ones in Australia, they get big turnouts and they're still very international, so that's definitely something to expect. The format of the week-long retreat for both of the ones that I did were very similar. During that week, you're going to be doing almost like 40 hours of meditation, I believe. One of the meditations you even do is at 4 in the morning. It's at 5 a.m. And, it sounds crazy if you've never done meditation or if you feel like, you've never done something that extreme. But honestly, when you're in the moment doing it with all these other people, it goes by quickly and you get so much out of it. When I went to my first Joe Dispenza retreat in December, I had no meditation practice, and I've been meditating pretty consistently since that one in December through my one in April. But you do a lot of meditation, and the days are kind of broken up where it's meditations every day, usually 2, 3, sometimes 4 in a day, as well as lectures. And I said this in the last video too, but Joe is one of the most captivating, electrifying, impactful lecturers that I've ever seen, whether it's from college, whether it's professional speakers. He can captivate an audience. He makes things funny. He makes things really understandable and digestible. People are listening along with translators in other languages. He really lets you absorb all the content and really build each day on the next. You start out doing less difficult meditations or kind of more entry-level stuff in day one, and by the end you're doing really high-level stuff, as well as the coherence healings, which are one of the most impactful practices. That's where you're healing someone, or you're getting healed if you apply for it, if you have a disease or sickness that they qualify, basically. And so you're basically healing other people that really need your help by the end of it, because you've done the super high-level work. But I mean, a lot of the questions that I get is, what do you get out of it? Is it worth it? What do you wish you would have expected, I guess, is one I get. So for me, is it worth it? Let's touch on that one first. I think this is one of the most amazing, powerful practices that I've ever experienced. When I went to my first one is because my really good friend went. Shout out to Connor for kind of sparking my interest in Joe Dispenza. But I had read the books, I'd done the podcast, but the retreat are like a whole new level. You literally can change your entire life in a week at a Joe Dispenza retreat. I saw people in my last retreat who had deafness in 1 year walk out with great hearing. One guy who had not had his voice for 4 years because of a vocal box injury was speaking in front of the stage. People heal themselves of miraculous injuries and diseases. People cure themselves of anxiety, depression, and it's really all about creating these tools to leave your body, leave your current reality, and create from the field. You probably know about that if you read his books. And honestly, if you feel really skeptical, or you feel like you're not sure if it's a good start and you haven't read like Becoming Supernatural or listened to some of his podcasts, that's a great place to start. You really don't need to start, like if you have no experience with Joe Dispenza's world at all, by going to an advanced retreat, unless you really feel so called to do so. But it's good to maybe start on the content side. So for me, is it worth it to go? 100%. I still do these meditations all the time, and he really gives you the practice so when you leave the retreat, you can continue to improve, continue to make that spiritual growth that a lot of people go there looking to, even without having to be at retreats. But there are people that go to like 5, 6, 7 retreats a year. There's people who've been to like 20 retreats that I met. For me, it was my second time, and a lot of people were there for the first time, so I was able to help them out a little bit. What to expect, I just think that if you're going to go there, if you're going to spend the money, if you're going to travel, you're going to want to go all in. You're going to want to really, lay down whatever preconceived notions of how it's not going to work for you, or it didn't work for your friend, or, maybe you're special and this isn't the work for you. If you're going to go do it, I would say just go with a blank slate, go with an open mind, a fresh attitude, and just go all in, just see what magic happens to you if you listen to what he teaches. He's helped like tens of hundreds of millions of people, honestly. He's helped with his work. So if it can work for like millions of people, it might just work for you. Just a little personal anecdote. I went with my mom on my most recent one. I didn't have a very good first couple days. I thought I was going to jump right back to it and start to crush my meditations. It took me a little while to warm up, and I had an exceptional time, but it took a little longer towards the end. My mom, who had never been to a Joe Dispenza retreat, but was a pretty avid meditator and was like into meditation even back in the 80s, she had a really hard, like 4 or 5 days, and was almost contemplating leaving early. She had a huge breakthrough at the end and has now not missed a meditation since. So that's kind of how it can go. Sometimes it's really difficult. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not just like a vacation. If you want to spend $3,000 and just go on like a cruise, it's going to be more leisurely. This is hard work. This is doing work, showing up for yourself, getting deep, working through your past, working through your blocks, your analytical mind, reopening your heart. This stuff is not easy, and it doesn't just happen overnight. So that's definitely a tip, is like if you're going to go all in. Just believe that anything is possible if it worked for all these other people, and just have a blank slate. Just listen, do what Joe says. Don't try to be the teacher yourself if you want to go to one of these retreats. Okay, so that's the cost. That's is it worth it? What to expect. And I think that's one thing too, what to expect is that you don't have to be an expert meditator. You don't even have to have a meditation practice. And you are going to get a lot of benefit out of this. And the thing, like, who is it for, I guess, is another common question. I honestly don't think there's anyone that wouldn't benefit from this work. Obviously, there's a lot of people that go to these retreats who are of a serious illness, a disease, cancer. There's a lot of people with depression, anxiety, who are going through a lot in their life, and it's definitely for those people. But the first time that I went, I just felt like there's more to life. I felt like I love to learn and love to experience new things. I love to empower myself and really feel that I have everything within myself to create the life that I want. And so Joe's teachings really drew me in because he's aligned to those values. And when my friend went and had an incredible experience, I was like, you know what? Financially, luckily, I have the resources to do this, and there's no better investment, in my opinion, than investing in yourself. So that's why I went. I didn't have any disease, any type of sickness, any type of mental health condition. I was very healthy and very grateful for that. But I still got an incredible value from both retreats. I'm looking forward to doing an advanced follow-up. I think that's probably my next one. My friend who excited me and turned me on to the retreat, he's about to leave to his first advanced follow-up today. But I definitely someday, again, see myself doing another week-long, probably not for maybe a year or two. I think it's good to have a little break in between and just do the work on my own. But if you have questions, if you're thinking about going, if you're on the edge and you can afford it, or if you can apply for some scholarships, man, I think you're not going to regret going. I'm not paid by Joe Dispenza. I don't work for Joe Dispenza. This isn't a sponsored post in any regard. But I just had a lot of impactful learning and value from the retreat. I shared it in that first video. The audio wasn't working, so hopefully this audio works better. Hopefully I answered some of your questions. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight to what the retreat is like. Don't go for the food. Don't go for the vacation. Go to open up your heart, explore your mind, visit realities that you didn't even know were there, experience things you didn't even think were possible. That's kind of what the retreat is about. And I think you're going to meet some great people. I'm still in touch with a handful of people that I've met. I really had an impactful time. And if you have questions, concerns, if you want to text me, email me, all my information's on my YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. Most of my content is real estate related, but every now and again I like to make a little bit of this content. And I hope you found some value in it. So appreciate you taking the time. And until next video, guys, make it a great day. We'll see you.